As the clock struck midnight, a shroud of darkness enveloped the small town of Arkham. The streets were silent, except for the occasional hoot of an owl or the rustling of leaves in the wind. But something was amiss. An ominous presence hung in the air, a feeling of impending doom. In a small cottage on the outskirts of town, a young woman named Sophia sat alone, poring over ancient texts of the occult. She had always been fascinated by the darker side of human nature, and her research had led her to delve deeper into the mysteries of the universe. As she read, her mind began to unravel, and she found herself falling deeper and deeper into a world of darkness and despair. The words on the page seemed to come alive, twisting and turning, forming grotesque shapes and symbols that she could not comprehend. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. Sophia hesitated, unsure if she should answer it. But the knocking persisted, growing louder and more insistent by the second. With trembling hands, she opened the door, and a figure stepped inside. It was a man, tall and gaunt, with piercing eyes that seemed to see into her soul. "Who are you?" Sophia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. The man's lips curled into a sinister smile. "I am the harbinger of the end times," he said. "I have come to usher in the new age." Sophia felt a chill run down her spine. She knew instinctively that this man was no ordinary mortal. He was something else entirely, something beyond human comprehension. As she watched in horror, the man began to chant in a language she did not understand. The air grew thick with an otherworldly energy, and Sophia felt as if she were drowning in a sea of darkness. Suddenly, she saw visions of unspeakable horrors, of creatures that lurked in the shadows and fed on human flesh. She saw the world as it truly was, a place of darkness and despair, where the forces of evil reigned supreme. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, it was over. The man was gone, and Sophia was left alone, trembling and gasping for breath. For weeks, she tried to forget what had happened, but the memory lingered like a bad dream. She knew that she had witnessed something beyond human comprehension, something that should never have been seen by mortal eyes. And in the darkest corners of her mind, she knew that the man had unlocked a door that should have remained firmly shut. The knowledge he imparted was a curse that would haunt her for the rest of her days. As the weeks passed, Sophia began to notice strange occurrences around her. Objects would move on their own, strange symbols appeared on the walls of her home, and the air grew colder and more oppressive. She knew that she was being followed, watched by unseen eyes, and that something ancient and malevolent was stalking her. She tried to seek help from those she trusted, but they too seemed to be under the same dark influence. In desperation, Sophia turned to the only source of knowledge that could help her, the forbidden texts of the occult. She read feverishly, searching for a way to banish the evil that had taken hold of her life. But the more she read, the deeper she fell into a pit of madness and despair. She began to see things that weren't there, to hear voices that whispered secrets from beyond the grave. And then one night, as she sat alone in her cottage, the man appeared before her once again. He was surrounded by a dark aura, and his eyes gleamed with an otherworldly light. "You have been chosen," he said, his voice like the rasping of 1,000 snakes. "Chosen to witness the end of all things, and to bear witness to the rise of the new world." Sophia knew that there was no escaping her fate. She had been marked by something ancient and malevolent, and her soul was now bound to the forces of darkness. With a final, chilling laugh, the man disappeared into the shadows, leaving Sophia alone with her terror and her fate. And so she lived out her days, haunted by the knowledge she had gained, and by the darkness that had claimed her soul. For in the world of the occult, there are some doors that should never be opened, and some secrets that should never be revealed.